Live here tonight from Road America. We'll turn right, we'll turn left, and it'll be quite exciting to watch. 27 laps of action. I'm Matt Egan, joined by Jacob Young. How you doing tonight, Jacob?
I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to watch some racing around Road America. A great road course, especially in this car and track combination. It should be a great one.
Yeah, without a doubt. I tell you what, the last time I did a broadcast at this track, it wasn't with these NASCAR race cars. It was with sports cars back in the North American Sports Car Challenge. If anyone remembers that league, it was an old league we ran on ASN, and it was quite a fun show. We had the LMP1s, GTE cars, and I can't remember. I think we ran GTDs or LMP2s. We ran some kind of combination there. I can't remember what the last of the class was. But we did old ALMS style racing, and we brought them to Road America for one show, and that was a great race. So I got a special fondness for this racetrack just from that league. And it's always a good time to come to this track. Always a fun racetrack to watch. It'll be different, though, with these NASCAR vehicles, though, than, of course, watching LMP1s tackle this racetrack. But what do you expect out of this race here tonight, Jacob?
It's going to be really great. Of course, these cars are going to have to be careful about braking, especially near the backstretch of this course. Turn 1, especially, that's a dangerous course and a long hairpin turn that you got, as well as just the braking zones. You got blind left-hand turns somewhat, and that's going to be very difficult for these drivers to manage. Of course, you want to keep your car in one piece, especially if you don't get to start on pole.
Yeah, that is for sure. And, of course, don't forget, though, with a road course race, no cautions, only the one pace lap, and that is it on the caution factor. So that's an important thing for these drivers to remember here tonight, is only the one caution. Well, not even a caution, only the one formation lap. So that'll be interesting to see how these guys play it out. What do you expect to see from the racing tonight for these drivers?
I expect to see there are still going to be some great battles, I think, even up front and near the back of the field. Of course, it's going to be every driver racing against basically the racetrack. But a big thing, especially, is going through Canada Corner. That's an overtaking zone, and especially down the backstretch of this circuit where you can really get some passes, as well as, of course, that front stretch over the hill when they go. So it's going to be a lot of strategy play for sure in that regards, but I still think there's going to be some great racing to be found.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think it's going to be a lot of good racing here tonight. It should be pretty exciting. Who would be your pick to win this race if you had to name a driver off the bat?
If I had to name a driver to win this race, well, I think it would be hard to go away from a couple of these drivers, but for sure Steve K. Blankenship. He sits in 5th position. That's where he qualified. And yes, he is a little bit slow off the pace, but remember, of course, it's not how fast your qualifying lap is. It's how consistent you can be on a road course.
Yeah, that is true. Road course, it's not, kind of like, well, any racetrack, but especially here at these kinds of racetracks, it's not about just running that one good lap. You have to run it consistently, lap after lap after lap. Stephen Blankenship, definitely a good pick to be able to do that. 6 minutes till we take the green. And, well, we're going to... I don't know who we should talk to, but we're going to find someone to talk to. Let's pull up... Well, he's sitting down there in the main lobby. We can't talk to any of these drivers right now, so let's pull up Nation. Let's see what he thinks. I know he'll be a bit of a spectator tonight. Nation, have you got a copy on us?
Yeah, fuck no, I don't.
Well, okay, well, I think you might hear us, but anyway, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing very well. Well, you're not racing, But you know, you're a spectator in this event. You've watched these guys week in and week out. What do you expect out of this race tonight from these drivers?
I would expect the absolute shit show.
Well, that's
was that not in the script?
That's a good vote of confidence there for these guys.
What the fuck do you expect?
Well, I mean, you know, do you expect passing? What do you expect them to get all strung out? What do you expect?
Well, never seen the track, never seen them race a track, so I don't know fucking anything about it.
This is off to a flying start. All right, then.
Don't you have somebody in here with you?
Well, yes, but we wanted to do an interview, and all the drivers are kind of in the drivers' meeting right now, so I figured maybe we'll talk to one of the fans or league admins.
Well, it'd be good racing, I guess. I mean, but the ones that aren't used to the track, it's going to be a shit show.
I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not going to disagree with you because I mean, you're right. But on to a slightly different topic here, right?
Okay.
I have a question for you, burning question about a slightly different topic.
I can't help you with that. You shouldn't have slept with her. It was just a bad idea.
No.
I'm not a doctor.
I've never done anything like that in my life. Thank you for wondering. But no. No, what do you think of the Navy releasing footage of UFOs?
Are you really going to do that?
Yeah, it's a legitimate question.
Well, I guess it is, but lens flare is also unidentified.
That's true. That is a very true point. But, hey, we got Vern up in here, too. How you doing tonight, Vern?
Are we back on the UFO thing?
Yeah, he went back to the goddamn UFO thing. And all I'm trying to do is watch into this fucking into this goddamn movie, and I can't hear the motherfucker.
I'm watching the stream, right? And
welcome to the
I
WFO
heard that
Racing League.
I heard that come across, and I'm like, I know they're not in the broadcast booth talking about the UFOs again.
Oh, yes.
It's
yes, we are.
It is imperative to the race because think about what would happen if the aliens invade during the race. I mean, it would.
They will beat. I tell you what, they will get more
It would probably be. It would probably be a gift for over half this field. I would bet you. I would venture to say half those guys don't want to be at Road America tonight.
Well, how do they vote for the aliens, though? That's going to be difficult.
Well, I mean, you could technically actually just put a driver of the day vote in.
Yeah, but how? You don't know their name.
What number can be assigned to a UFO, Matt?
It's going to have a question mark and a $sign in it.
059.
Okay.
059 is the aliens. So if you want to vote for the aliens for driver of the day / overlord of the planet, you have to put in the 059.
There.
Well, why has he got to be overlord of the planet?
Well, I mean, the aliens aren't going to settle for mayor of,
yeah, but why couldn't the rednecks go out there and go, bitch, sit the fuck down?
I mean, they might.
There, we got us the alien vote in there.
God damn, man.
You got to put one in too, nation.
Well, welcome to Road America and the insanity that will ensue. Trust me, this race is going to be exciting for all those wonderful people out there watching. This is just the pre-race show.
It's not Road America, Matt. It's WFO.
Well, this is Road America.
Yeah, but it's WFO. The craziness is WFO.
That is true. It's our own special breed of craziness.
What the fuck did I do?
You're in here.
Yeah,
I didn't bring myself in here.
I'm wondering.
All right, hang on.
I'm wondering why we're in here. Is the question that is going through my mind because we don't even like broadcasting the nights that we do.
Well,
really?
Nation's
there
here
is
because
a
I couldn't.
Question there.
Nation's here because I couldn't interview a driver because you guys were doing the drivers meeting.
I'm not driving, so.
And then you're in here because you heard us talking about aliens and you wanted to see what all was going on up in here.
The UFOs again. Good news is I can't stay too long because I'm going to go get on my driving rig and turn some road laps.
Real quick, before you do, how is that going, by the way? Because I'm very interested in that on a serious racing note.
I have 4 podium finishes out of 4 races. I finished third the first race, first the second race, third the third race, and first the last race, which was the fourth race. So I got 2 wins and 2 thirds.
Now, is that
Oh,
top
yeah.
split or what
No,
split?
it's not. I've been hovering around the 10th split, but I'm close to the top 100 in points, and I am number 1 in laps led in Road to Pro Series.
So does that put you in the running for the pro license, or how do you actually qualify for that
Well,
license?
it's a 14 race season, and if I keep gaining the ground that I'm gaining with the finishes that I've got, then I probably do got a good shot of making it
That's
to the next
pretty
round.
good.
So, yeah, I've been fortunate enough that the setups have been really good, and I've had the speed that the top split guys got. In fact, the speeds that I've been showing are in the top 5 of the top split. So if I get there, I know I'm there.
Yeah, I mean,
You get there,
you're
brother.
always fast. You're always a fast driver, whether you run here or whether you run on dirt. I mean, it seems like anything you throw yourself into, you're gonna do well, if not go to victory lane. So I'm not surprised to hear that, but I mean, that's awesome to see. You running so good in that
I'm gonna
division.
stick with it, but it does take a lot more practice than the league stuff did, Matt. And
Yeah, I can imagine.
those setups you'll spend hours in, but it's going to be fun. You got a race starting, so I'm going to let you guys get back to it.
One last question though, because there's a very long pace lap here. If you did get the pro license, would you make a bid at the Coca-Cola series, or is this kind of just a for fun, improve yourself type thing?
No, if I get the pro license, it's going to be a run to the Coca-Cola series. That's what it's all about. So if I get the pro license, I would go to the Xfinity series and race to try to get in the top 20 and go to the pro.
That would be awesome to see. I mean, I would love to see you get to run in that series.
I just want WFO to have a pro driver.
I mean, we're
yeah,
getting there. We're almost there.
We're working on it. But it's definitely a lot of work. It's probably one of the hardest things that I've done in sim racing.
All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us the insight on that Pro Series, and best of luck to you with the season and with practice tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Nation, we'll let you get back to your movie as we'll get through the start and lineup here.
All right, y'all take care.
You too.
Burn good.
All right, so starting lineup from Road America after our fantabulous pre-race show, which I hope everyone enjoyed as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Row number 1, we'll be looking for Ricky Fagone and Michael Henry. Row number 2, how about Glenn Jameson, Corey Cook. Row 3, Stephen Blankenship, John Senu. Row 4, Artie Peterson, Leo Lort. Row 5, Garrett Hemlinger, Ryan W. Daniels. Row 6, Richard Holland and Tim Hamlet. Row 7, Trent Ripley and Derek Robinson. Row 8, Jeff T. Martin and Jared Cox. Row 9 is no one because we're only 8 rows deep here tonight. Well, Jacob, it is a big racetrack here tonight as we get ready to go racing. I tell you what, man, this is gonna be a good show. I can feel it, you know?
Yeah, indeed. I always am a fan of this racetrack now. It's kind of grown on me. I used to not necessarily care to drive it that much, but ever since driving the GT4 around here, it's been very fun, and it is always enjoyable to come here, whether, of course, it's in a NASCAR Cup car or one of these, or, of course, even an endurance car. So looking forward to it. I know these drivers are too. It's just another step towards the championship.
Yeah, without a doubt. Second to last race before the champion. We've already got one driver off the course. That's not how he wanted to start his night, although he might just be pulling off for the evening. And he was. So that's Derek Robinson. That might just be his night over. I hope not, over before it started, you know? Ricky Fagone getting ready to lead us down to the green here.
On this base lap, this is the part of the course that I was talking about, which will be very difficult. You go uphill into a left-hand turn after a hard braking zone out of the Canada corner on that left-hand turn too. So that we could see a couple of fenders getting bent on the early laps if they do stay together there, because it does take a lot to brake at that corner.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it'll be interesting getting down into turn one. You know, you got that long straightaway here at Road America, a very long front stretch down in that very tight corner. And then, of course, turn two, you got that short shoot straightaway, turn two, turn three, then the Moran sweep. And turn five, just a very tight left-hander. I think if we're going to see any wrecks on this opening lap, I would guarantee you I'd bet all my money on it happening in turn five. What do you think?
Well, it's possible. I think I'll stick with it'll happen, of course, because it's just that's a dangerous part of the circuit. And I mean, I agree with you. Any part of this circuit you can go wrong with it. It just feels like you're comfortable with the car and comfortable with the track. You put a little bit too much power down, you spin the tires, and then your car, of course, goes sideways and it goes into the wall. That could still happen. Hopefully, of course, it doesn't for these drivers.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. They're working the pace lap still. Very big racetrack here, Road America is. That's why, again, rather short race, but it'll still take better part of around an hour to complete here tonight. I believe they're working through Thunder Valley. Up to, actually, that might be Canada Corner there, so that might have been Kettle Bottoms. Not too familiar with the track. Like I said, I've only done 2 broadcasts here. Up now onto the straightaway. And for the first and only time tonight, up the hill. And Flagman has the flag in his hand. There it is. We're racing. So great start there by, I believe, Ricky Fagone and Michael Henry. Henry got a pretty good start there. That turn left racing, number 73 Chevrolet, down into turns 2. Actually, that is turn 3 there. Like I said, they're going to be coming up to turn 4 and then down the Moran sweep up into turn number 5. I'm telling you, Jacob, I think this is where we might see something transpire.
Very possible here, yet hard breaking into
Glenn
the
Jamison
left-hand turn.
And Ryan Daniels has gone around. Looks like he got loose on the straightaway. We'll get an instant replay look at that if he had any help. Although I don't believe he did. I think it was all by himself. And yeah, he just tagged the grass hard into the wall. So not a good start to the night. 13 drivers on track here. And Ryan Daniels at the tail end of that 13-car field. 12 in contention right now. Michael Henry, the fastest of those 12.
He gets a little loose, though, able to save it. Through Canada Corner he goes.
Ricky Fagone got a pretty good run up through Canada Corner there onto Thunder Valley. And look at Glenn Jamison. Again, we're only a lap into this race, but I tell you what, Glenn's got a pretty good-looking race car here. And looks like the 73 binned it through that corner as he's gone well off the racetrack. Falls back down to 4th. That gives the lead to Ricky Fagone. Now we got a really tight battle for the lead as we start working lap number 2.
Exactly. That's one thing that you can do here is just overdrive, especially the final corners heading into the final straight of this racetrack. It's just one of those courses where you just have to stay focused constantly. And if you really do have to, don't lock up or really don't take a lot of speed into the corners.
Yeah, without a doubt there. And you can see you got your leader Ricky Fagone trying to maintain that lead, and this is going to be the big thing for him right now, is not to just overrun the car, you know?
Indeed, yeah.
You figure you got really tight corners at this racetrack, and you overshoot it just a little bit, you're going to go off the track and into the grass like that 73, and instead of fighting for the lead, you'll be fighting for 5th place.
I 100% agree with you there. Just try to control it as much as possible.
Yeah, 2 laps into this race, Ricky Fagone making himself known to be a pretty good presence. You see Glenn Jamieson, he's got a really good car, but it looks like Ricky just got this track figured out a little bit more. He's opened that up to what? It looks like 3 car lengths between the 2 of them.
Exactly. He's gotten a little bit of a race lead for sure over 2nd place Glenn Jamieson, which has been a big thing. But it doesn't seem like it's too big of a gap for the 63 to be able to say, okay, well, now I have to start kind of defending from 2nd place. It's still a big enough lead to where that's kind of what he wants at the moment. Doesn't want to push his tires or anything too much. 27 laps, you don't think it's a lot here, but it most definitely is, as this track is 4 miles long. So he just has to stay calm and stay focused, and hopefully, of course, he can get that race lead when the time is right.
Yeah, it's a lot of racetrack and a lot of racing for these drivers. And you notice this top 4, you know, compared to, you know, well, 5th place, not a good example. You notice it looks like the 27, Jared Cox, getting right by Artie Peterson. But you notice everyone else really spread out already. You got big gaps as Ryan W. Daniels. Man, every time we go to this driver tonight, it is not good. That is the 2nd time he's gone off the course, and this time it looks like that damage may be a lot worse. That hood is not attached to that, well, not tied down anymore. And John Senu looks like he's gone off the course as well. And we'll see what happened to John Senu here. He'd already had damage. Looks like he just had a bad corner, and Senu spins around. Stephen Blankenship is in the pits. His night might be over. John Senu bringing it in as well. And you know Ryan Daniels also making that limp down pit lane. So these drivers here tonight, not a good way to start their night. Only 3 laps into this race. We still got a whole lot of racing left to go. But, you know, the point I was trying to make, you take a look at the top 4 drivers here tonight, Jacob, and they're kind of under a blanket right now. For a road course, they're certainly under a blanket. Only half a second separates the top 4.
Exactly. Very impressive from each of them. We all know they're very fast, considering, of course, Glenn Jamieson, and then our pole sitter, Ricky Fagone in this race lead. But you talked about who started 2nd and 4th place. That was Michael Henry, of course.
The 61 car, Corey Cook. Corey Cook is gone for a spin, and that will separate our race leaders. Man, what a terrible turn of events for that 61 car. I tell you what, man, they were having such a good run. It looks like Michael Henry was trying to get by, and Corey Cook trying to defend that position. You know, he goes up onto those rumble strips, and looks like the car just didn't like that. Good job by Michael Henry to check up. And, you know, just bad situation for Corey Cook.
Bad situation, but it could have been much, much worse for Corey Cook indeed. Yes, he's down to 4th position, but you talked about it. He still has a good enough gap between him and 3rd place, or him and, well, 5th place actually is what I meant to say, as well as you never know what could happen to Michael Henry. As Michael Henry, I was just watching his screen for a second, got loose on the rumble strips there, was able to save it, but that's something that can happen. You lose time from doing mistakes like that, and then
he got big loose there.
Exactly. Next thing you know, you could be in the wall or getting passed.
Well, you know how Michael Henry's going to race right now. You know he's going to be angry at the moment. Not angry at Corey Cook, but just angry at the fact that he's down, you know, from a half a second gap to now a 6-second gap. And he's going to want to try and make that up the best he can because he's one of the fastest drivers on the racetrack. Of course, the problem at hand is that's a 6-second gap. So he's going to probably wind up overdriving the car a few corners. And like you said, I think Corey Cook, he's going to be able to make not a lot of ground because, again, the distance between those two drivers, especially since Corey spun out. But, you know, if Michael Henry, for some reason, were to completely lose that car, as you saw him get loose yet again, Corey Cook could stand to benefit from that.
Indeed, he is really overdriving that race car. Indeed, Michael Henry, you talked about it, he got loose. I'm watching, I believe, the rear chase cam, and you can see the driver inside moving the wheel, and you can tell how aggressively he is moving it as he's passing, I believe, a lapped car. Don't know necessarily who that was, but that did not slow him down indeed. But yes, burning up those rear tires and front tires early, it's just not necessarily a great sign, but of course he wants to gain time once again to Glenn Jamieson and try for that race lead.
Yeah, and you know, he's gaining time, but he's not going to make up a 6-second gap unless something big happens. I mean, he might make it up on pit lane provided they have to pit tonight, which will be a pretty interesting layer of strategy. But, I mean, unless that happens, I mean, he's not going to make up that time. And you can see the way he just basically slid that car through the corner there. He's going to only wind up hurting his car. He's got to take a step back, and that's going to be the problem for him, is being able to take that step back. The best thing he could have is a spotter, a live spotter right now, just telling him, hey, put things in perspective. You're still third. You still got a car in one piece. Take it easy. Ride it out for a while. See what happens, because he stands to lose control of that race car the way he's driving it.
Indeed, for sure, yeah, just needs to calm down, take a step back. And like you said, yeah, these cars, they have the new damage model, they have the new tire model. So you run your tires a little bit too much, you're going to start to feel that wear. And then you're going to start to feel, if you lock up or anything like that, have a flat spot. And so that's just only going to make matters worse, as it most likely you'll have a tire go. So that is not what he would want to happen. I mean, look at the lead or not the lead, but the gap he's got from first place to the gap he's got over Corey Cook. 6.960 from the race leader. And 20-second lead over Corey Cook, over that fourth place position.
And you go back to the battle for the race lead here. I tell you what, man, it is close that you could stick. I mean, maybe one car in between the two of them, but if either one of them's, well, really, if Ricky slips up, Glenn Jamieson stands to gain the race lead, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens here.
Yeah, exactly. Or if Ricky maybe makes a little bit of a mistake or something like that, as in just maybe even lets him by, doesn't really want to get this race lead at the time being, then, well, most definitely you'll see Glenn Jamieson take that advantage. But just over the start-finish straight, it's now a 7/10 lead over Glenn Jamieson. So he was able to gain some time over Glenn Jamieson. So that's a big run for Ricky Fagon. But look at that. Glenn Jamieson, his best part of the circuit is what it looks like Sector 1 right now.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think you're right on the money. As you can see here, you see just where he's gaining a little bit of ground. Watch this run down. I think this is turn 5 here. Look at Glenn here. He got a good run into that corner, good run off, but Ricky just a little bit better off the corners. I think Ricky just has a bit better of a track out than Glenn Jamieson does right now.
I think you're correct on that. He's really been able to manage the corners, and you haven't necessarily seen him really lose the race car, which has been key.
Yeah, neither one of these drivers we've seen really make a mistake yet. I don't want to jinx them, but they have both held onto their race cars really nicely here. I don't think we've seen either one of them kind of make an error. At least not yet.
Exactly. I mean, you talk about it really well. Is about throttle control. You go back to that, and of course, not locking up your race tires. That is a key skill to have in a race car, especially around a race course. But look at that, through Canada Corner and up to Thunder Valley, or just around that part of the circuit, Glenn Jameson was able to close the gap just a little bit.
Glenn Jameson, he dives it in deep right there. I mean, real deep into that corner, and that's the run up, I think, the front straightaway. Yes, it is. And, you know, he again, he goes into these corners, and a good run in, but I still stand by my statement that I think Ricky's got a bit of a better car when it comes to getting off the corner.
Definitely agree on that. Just out of the exits, that's where he's really getting them. I do see that too. But through the corners, it just, you talk about it. I think Glenn Jameson, that's the deal. He's being more aggressive. And that has been the difference maker in how he's gained time to how he's lost time, which is just, of course, not being able to get on the power as early as, well, Ricky Fagon, because he lets off the throttle pretty early into the corner.
Yeah, we're riding in car now with him, and you can see actually that time, well, it looked like he was going to have a better corner exit, but like he said, Ricky just got a bit better on the power response than Glenn does, and he got on the power a lot quicker, and even though I don't want to say binned the corner exit, but he didn't have a better track out, but he just got, like you said, he just got to the power quicker, and that's the big thing. You see Ricky's starting to pull away. He's creeping away. He's got that gap up to about 0.7 of a second now, and it was holding steady at about half a second gap. So now he's trying to creep away, but I think Glenn got better through the carousel there. He got a lot better down that short chute straightaways. That gap had closed to about 0.3 of a second. I tell you what, Glenn's a lot better on these straightaways than Ricky is.
Exactly, and I think that goes down to just how confident you feel with your car, as that's a little bit of a wiggle from
Yeah,
Ricky
but they both wiggled. They both wiggled. Ricky wiggled first, but Glenn wiggled second, and any ground Glenn gained, he quickly lost. Oh, Glenn got a big wiggle out of that corner.
Pit lane, so it looks like pit stops are going to be a factor there, trying to make it perfectly, so really not losing a lot of time. It's all going to be up to who gets in their pit box in a little bit better position than the other.
Yeah, called F1 style pit stops now, because it is going to be a matter of which team can get their car up on the jacks the fastest and get it out the quickest. Right now, they pit right next to each other, too, so this is going to be the interesting thing. Down on pit lane, both those drivers up 4 tire change, and I'm not surprised to see 4 tires. Out and away. Looks like Ricky Fagon out quicker, and I'm not surprised by that, are you?
And not surprised one bit as well. Just a little bit faster for Ricky Fagon, but really, I don't think that Glenn Jameson lost any time as well, considering, of course, when they both pitted. Maybe just a little bit of time, close to a second of a gap now, but other than that, I don't really think it was that big of a difference.
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a difference, but like you said, he lost just a little bit of time. Not a lot, but it's going to be enough to notice, especially if Glenn doesn't get good runs out of these corners, like really he hasn't been able to, because now that gap's opened up, I tell you what, I think it's going to keep growing, you know?
Oh, most definitely, indeed. you have that 4-tire stop. You know that's most likely your last stop because you don't need another. Well, yeah, you don't need to go down pit lane one more time. We're already 8 laps into this 27-lap race, and if we do it kind of F1 style as well, you play those F1 games. You have that 25% race, or even any old NASCAR game, the 25% race, you only go down pit lane once, and you come back out, and you have to save your tires just a little bit longer, too. So it's all up to that.
Well, I think they will pit one more time because think about it. It's a 27-lap race. They pit 7 laps in. They'll only get to, what, like lap 14 with their fuel load. If they're pitting for fuel and not tires, that is.
Well, that is true indeed if they are only pitting for fuel instead of not tires. But I would think that was really... Well, I think you could be right, but look at that, a little bit of a wiggle from Ricky Fagon.
Yeah, and, you know, here's the interesting thing. These two drivers, they may have pitted early because I have not seen... and I've had my monitor up. I haven't seen any other driver pit yet, except Corey Cook. And he pitted a little while ago. He's gone all the way down to 7th. He tried to play a little bit of a pit stop game, and it hasn't worked. But Michael Henry, the race leader, you know, he inherited the lead. He hasn't pitted yet.
Now that you bring up a good point, I think both Ricky Fagon and Glenn Jameson are going for the 2-stop, and Michael Henry will probably try and stretch it out to try and make it on 1 stop.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. I think that's 73, and really everyone else is definitely going to go for a 1-stop approach. I don't know why they, you know, Ricky wanted to do a 2-stop race, you know? I don't see the benefit unless he thinks tires are going to make that much of a difference. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. When it comes down to a 2-stop race, normally it is because of tires. So for sure, I think what their plan is, they want to push as much as possible to give themselves maybe a little bit of an advantage. I mean, you talk about the gap that they've already kind of gained. Yes, they pitted, but everybody else has not pitted. So you think about it, Michael Henry would have to get close to a minute of a lead, like 40 to 50 second gap for the pit stop to really work in his favor to come out and still have that race lead. So I think it is still technically in their favor, but it will be very difficult.
Yeah, that is a good point to make, but it'll, you know, like you said, it'll still be very difficult. Here comes Michael Henry. We'll see where he comes out. This will be the question. He's in the pits, and like you said, I think you're right. It needs to be about a 50-second, 40-second gap for him to still maintain that lead, which he won't. But it'll be interesting to see just, you know, how far down does he drop.
Exactly, because you have the second and third place of Ricky Fagon and Glenn Jameson going down, I believe, the start-finish straight just now. Over the hill they go, down into turn 1. So it's going to be a little close, but I think they'll still be able to make it in the lead.
Yeah, Michael Henry hasn't left the box yet. He's still getting that car serviced as he is. Has he parked it for the night? No, there he goes. He's out and away. He'll come out third.
He will come out third, but now he'll have an opportunity to get second place as 63 Glenn Jameson went a little too deep into turn 1. He went into the gravel trap there, but was able to make it out unscathed, only, of course, dirtying up his tires. So that's going to be bad for him, but benefits, of course, Ricky Fagon.
Yeah, and unfortunately pretty much damaging his chance at the race win when you, you know, think about it, because now Glenn's going to have, what, a 4-second gap between him and Ricky?
Most likely something like that for sure will probably be the difference, if I had to say so myself as well. But as long as, of course, Ricky can still see him in his rear view mirror, it's not going to be as bad of a gap as we first anticipated.
Yeah, that is for sure. Michael Henry, though, runs third. Corey Cook, fourth. I tell you what, Corey Cook, after his spin, he's, held on to fourth place. That's a pretty nice recovery. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a bit better, but, all things considered.
Yeah, exactly. Qualifying fourth and staying fourth place. Drivers having problems at the start of the race, and a couple of those drivers deciding to call it a night, which really stinks, of course, because you talk about the chaser trying for a championship, and a couple of those drivers were in the hunt for the championship with, about 2 weeks after this race left. So it's just not, of course, the luck that they wanted.
Yeah, Ryan Daniels, one of those drivers. I think he was on the bubble, too, as far as getting into that championship round.
And you talk about it, he sits in fourth place, or Corey Cook does exactly. So all of that stuff, yeah, it could have been much worse. And remember, Corey Cook has to think, I cannot overdrive my race car. I have to stay calm. I think he's calmed down just a little bit. Or check that was Michael Henry, excuse me. But same deal goes for Corey Cook, of course. He just has to focus and gain as much time as possible. And if it has to be done by strategy, then that's going to be key.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I think Corey Cook, I don't think he's going to have to worry about overdriving it, because he is all on an island by himself right now. He just got to worry about keeping that car planted in the right direction. But like you said, Michael Henry, who is trying to gain as much ground as he can, he's not going to want to overdrive that car, and you're entirely right about that. So right now, Ricky Fagone looks like he's en route to go to victory lane.
Exactly, and also that he's most likely doing a two-stop race with Glenn Jameson. So you put that into perspective too. Him still having to pit, it looks like he's going to be able to make it. But also maybe they got a different strategy to where they can make it in one stop. Now, one thing, I was just watching the 73 of Michael Henry. He just went off track there, overdrove it over the over one of the hills here. But point being, not going to save him any time.
Yeah, that's not good there. And, like you said, if he's definitely trying to go on a one-stop strategy of using those tires, like you said, going off track, that's going to be one of the biggest killers in that, because even if he can go one stop, it's not going to matter when everyone else has fresher tires and he's worn his completely down. So right now, 16 laps to go at the stripe. And who is your pick to win this race? Would you still pick our race leader?
Well, I mean, of course, a race leader would be the obvious choice to go with if I had to pick a driver, but I think I would stick with Glenn Jameson. Yes, he is 3.4 seconds behind your race leader of Ricky Fagone, but all it takes is one mistake from Fagone. All it takes is just Glenn Jameson gaining a little bit of time, and still plenty of racing to go. It could end up being Glenn's race to win. And, of course, like you said, it is Ricky's race to lose at the moment.
We have 15 laps to go at the stripe. And everyone off in their own island of racing. You got a little bit of close racing here. Jared Cox, Artie Peterson. They were close by earlier, not close for long. Artie Peterson goes for a spin. Jared Cox gets by. So Ricky Fagone maintaining the race lead. I think unless anything catastrophic happens to him, I think he's got this one wrapped up with a neat little bow.
Yeah, exactly. Just needs to lock up his race car. I know he's done that a couple of times throughout the race circuit. That will only help Glenn Jameson catch up for sure, because He is closing in just a little bit, but I think that's because Ricky knows he doesn't have to push too much.
Yeah, right now, 15 again, like I said, at the line. Ricky, you watch the way he gets through that corner, you say you don't have to push too much. It looks like he is pushing that car quite a bit. That car is getting sent around this racetrack at full speed, you know?
Most definitely indeed, yeah. Talk about it, it looks like he is just a little swirly under the brakes, but of course that's sometimes how you want to drive the car. You want to drive the car with a little less brake bias than other drivers would say they would like on their race car for sure, but yeah, he still has that race lead, almost half of a straightaway basically.
And you can see Glenn Jameson trying to close in, and they'll be closing in on their pit stop here. We're about on lap 14, and they went 7 laps last time, you know?
Exactly, so that's going to be interesting, as I did see a couple of drivers actually go down pit lane for most likely their scheduled pit stops as well. So talk about it, they could end up being on the same strategy as other drivers who were just going down pit lane. But maybe, of course, we've done the math a little wrong, and we might not see them down pit lane for the rest of the race.
Yeah, well, that is a possibility. Although, I don't know. I saw Senu pit a few minutes ago, so I think we might have another one come down. And you can see here, Ricky's just got a great looking race car right now. I know we've been saying that all night too, that Ricky's got a good looking car, but I mean, really, he's got this thing just figured out, kind of next level. He's lapping 2:15s as his hot lap, which is just absolutely amazing to see.
Yeah, exactly. And just, you talk about these cars, they're meant to go on ovals, of course, and then you bring them to road courses, and it's very impressive to see how fast these drivers can push the race cars to, of course, the limit. And it's fun to watch. It's just something different, and can always enjoy just watching it at a different circuit.
Yeah, without a doubt. 14 laps to go. About, what do you expect to see? You think we see him down pit lane this time by?
I think surprise us and not go down pit lane this lap and decide to stay out just a little bit longer. We could see these drivers maybe even push it to, if it is something about fuel, then maybe when the engineer says 1 lap of fuel or something like that.
Yeah, that is a good point. And of course, 1 lap of fuel at this racetrack gotta be a scary message to hear, especially at the start of the lap, because you figure, well, really, 1 lap of fuel, is that gonna be enough to get around? It is 4 miles after all, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. The only good part is a lot of corners, so you can coast through a little bit of it to try and make it. Yes, that would lose you some time, but most likely if you were to say that would be Ricky Fagon's message, maybe Glenn Jameson would have the same thing, and he would have to do exactly that same thing.
Yeah, that is a good point. So right now, coming to 13 laps to go, waiting on that second pit stop again. You might have had a point where, we might have miscalculated and they might actually be good to the end, although I'd be very surprised by that, wouldn't you?
I would most definitely be shocked if they could make it to the end since they pitted so early. But at that same time, I mean, I talked about it a little bit early. I wasn't too shocked when they went down pit lane to try to make it to the end, because at that same time, it's just the strategy of really you're just having to worry about your tires, not necessarily fuel. If, of course, these cars, which I believe they are, on a full fuel run. Well, look at that. The 10 car goes down pit
Yep,
lanes,
he's
and
in
Ricky
the
Falcone,
pits.
you were correct.
So Ricky Fagone down in the pits there. I'm not surprised by that, but what I am surprised by is Glenn Jameson electing to stay out. I guess he wanted the lap led. This might be a good pit strategy there.
Exactly, trying to do the undercut over the versus the overcut is basically what I meant to say there. And that could play a good factor. Now, you really do need to have a good in-lap. That is the key. We know that Ricky Falcone had a good in-lap. Will Glenn Jameson be able to do that same thing? That's going to be the difference. Because, of course, you don't want to pit too late after the race leader did, but you don't want to pit too early. So it's all these mixed things. He knew that staying behind Falcone would kind of hurt him just like it did the last pit stop. I think that's his key, is just trying to get out there and push as much as he can.
Yeah, that might be a good strategy there with only 13 laps to go, I think. I think you might have hit the nail on the head with that one. And there you go, way off the racetrack. Oh, that's not good at all then. And that might be his key to hit the pits. I think Glenn probably going to come down this time, especially after that little off-road expedition. But no, he'll stay out at least one more lap. A little bit surprising there.
Very surprising indeed. This is where strategies really can come into play. Maybe, of course, he thinks that he can gain a little bit more time. But I'm going to be check, of course, how much of a race lead he's got over Ricky Falcone at the moment. It's only a 15.5 second race lead. This time it's Michael Henry, actually. So something like that going to be very interesting.
Yeah, right now just 12 laps to go here. You think Glenn might have made a winning race move here?
Well, that's what he's trying to do.
And that might not... Well, that's not a winning race move, I can tell you that much. Well, if you're a Sebastian Vettel fan, you might be getting flashbacks to, what was it, Monza last year? Where he was having a great race, and I forgot who he... Well, I think it was Lance Stroll he went into when he wrecked.
And then Lance Stroll did exactly the same thing. Came back on the racetrack. People don't necessarily remember that, but that's kind of what Lance Stroll does sometimes, is he goes back on the racetrack in front of people besides Sebastian Vettel.
Yep. See, that's the one good thing about being a Ferrari fan during this lockdown. You can still say it's Ferrari's year because Mercedes hasn't proven that they are undeniably better yet.
And Ferrari hasn't shot themselves in the foot yet this season, too.
Oh, they'll find a way, though. I mean, even virtually. I'm sure I haven't followed the virtual F1 racing, but I mean, I'm sure they'll find a way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Charles Leclerc winning 2 races, that's the problem. Once again, just...
That was an amazing drift.
I think he hit the tire barrier, though.
He did. And he lost the lead there. That is... Shades of Sebastian Vettel. So what, Glenn just mimicked Sebastian Vettel at, what was it, Hockenheim now? In, well, I want to say 2018? Or is that also 2019?
was 2018, and then I think Charles did it in 2019, maybe.
Yep, you're right. See, 2018, though, was the most soul-crushing one, because that's when Vettel really had a legitimate chance at that championship up until that race. Because he was going to win that race, and there's no denying that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and then he
Definitely
stuffed
was.
it into the tire barrier.
Yeah.
I think I figured out what Glenn's problem is. He's running Ferrari colors. He's got the red and black. And it's not going well for him, so he might want to change that up next week for, I think we're at Phoenix for the championship. He might want to change that up for Phoenix. As I would not recommend keeping that color palette. Well, Michael Henry stands to win this race now. So I tell you what, that's a great run for Michael Henry, and we said he might be on a one-stop strategy. Do you think he still is?
I think it's possible he's going to try to be on a one-stop strategy for sure. Yeah, because the way that they pitted, I believe he pitted maybe 2 laps later than Glenn Jamieson and Ricky Fagon did. So that is a big possibility of why, of course, they'll try. Fresher tires still, and has the fuel to make it to the end as long as he saves his tires just a little bit and doesn't overdrive the race car like he was before, then that's key. I don't know necessarily how his stint has been going right now, but I know, of course, well, he's in the race lead, so it must be going pretty well.
Yeah, that is a very good point right there. You know, you can't criticize a strategy that's put the guys in the race lead. So right now, 10 more laps to go, and what do you expect in these final 10 laps?
Oh, I still expect some great racing. I mean, you talk about it. Glenn Jamieson, yes, he's still technically, I believe, in second place, but Ricky Fagon not far behind, or Ricky might have made a little bit of a mistake, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the end. It might be a battle for second place, which will be huge for the playoff implications, of course, going into the closer to the championship race weekend.
10 more times around. It looks like the 60 car there off track. So, on another note, though, you speak about championships. We're going to shift gears and talk about real life for a moment. Ryan Newman and Matt Kenseth both been given waivers by NASCAR. If you haven't been following the news in NASCAR recently, you really ought to, because, I mean, it's the best soap opera since really any of them recently. So, Ryan Newman, Matt Kenseth replaces Kyle Larson. That was announced a few days ago. And Ryan Newman has been medically cleared to race again, and they've both been given waivers to be championship eligible. What is your take on this, Jacob?
Well, I think that's perfectly fair considering where Ryan Newman was after the Daytona 500, and considering, of course, who Matt Kenseth is filling in for. He was filling in for the 42, and we talk about that 42 team as well as Chip Ganassi Racing and Chevrolet. They had an opportunity to win races. So before, of course, COVID-19 kind of shut everything down for NASCAR and motorsports and all sports around the world. So you take that into consideration. A huge thing is, well, it's only fair considering Chip Ganassi Racing, they deserve some race points. It's not their fault that the circumstances took place. same deal for Ryan Newman. I mean, you get back to, I believe, the Daytona 5 or one of the Daytona 500s when, well, the champion was Kyle Busch, his first ever champion. He got that provisional to compete in the championship or in that playoffs, and well, got to the championship for and won that championship. So it's only, of course, fair to both those drivers to have an opportunity to try and go for it.
Yeah, and, you know, with Ryan Newman, I think it's more than fair because you look back in the years and you look at Kyle Busch, who, of course, gets the waiver for, you know, breaking his legs in 2015, wins the championship that year, which is nothing short of incredible for him to manage to do that. And then you look at, of course, Tony Stewart in 2016. Granted, you know, Tony Stewart doesn't win the championship in 2016, but still, nonetheless, he got injured in the beginning of the year, missed the first few races due to his injury during the offseason, and he still gets the waiver, still competes in the chase. I think he was knocked out in the first round or the second round, but, you know, still got the waiver nonetheless. For him, it's more than fair. You know, for Matt Kenseth, I don't agree with the people that say it isn't fair, because I think, like you said, it's just a crazy circumstance. I mean, we've never seen that happen before in NASCAR, where a driver gets fired only 3 races or 4 races into the year for a situation that, you know, something like that's just unprecedented. And I think that team should have a viable option to compete in the championship, especially since it's only, 4 races into the season? It's not like we're, you know, halfway through the season going into the second Michigan race and we're saying, okay, Matt Kenseth can compete for the championship. In that case, I don't think he would be able to, because I think at that point it would be too late in the season. But at this point, you know, I think we're 4 races in, the season's effectively starting over, and, you know, in my eyes, because we've had enough, you know, we've been off for so long, you know what I mean?
Oh, most definitely know exactly what you mean. It is a huge restart to the whole season, considering that the points will stay exactly the same. And yeah, just having an opportunity to get that provision. Most likely, of course, all you have to do is finish inside the top 30 in points, and that's going to be very easy for both those teams or both those drivers to do, considering where Roush Fenway was going to in this season, as well as where Ganassi was.
Well, I think part of it is they have to win a race, because I think it's the same as Kyle Busch's waiver, where you have to win a race and be in the top 30.
That's what I meant to say, yeah.
Which for Ryan Newman, and I'm going out on a limb and saying this because Roush hasn't exactly been the best race cars, but for Ryan Newman, I don't think that's going to be that difficult. I think Ryan Newman will be able to win a race, because we've seen him the last 2 years. We've seen him really improve that number 6 car. So I think a win is not out of the question at a track like Dover or something like that, or maybe a Talladega. Or a super speedway if we go to one this year. Well, Daytona in July. So I don't rule that out. Matt Kenseth, that's going to be a hard sell for me, and only because of the fact that he got 1 win in his final year, and that happened at Phoenix at the end of the season, his final full-time year. And then when he ran part-time for Roush, granted that 6 car wasn't exactly the best car in 2018, not by a long shot, but still, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. picked up some wins, and Matt Kenseth, he didn't perform any better than Trevor Bayne, if I'm being honest, in that 6 car. So I don't know if I really see Matt Kenseth winning a race in the 42 this year, and I don't know about that. I'm sure he'll do well, but I don't know if I see him, you know, race-winning material.
Only difference, I would say, is remember Greg Biffle. Last year in the Truck Series, gets put in Kyle Busch's seat, or one of Kyle Busch's trucks, and wins a race at Texas. That's what I would go on a limb and say that's probably where he could probably end up winning a race right there, is because, well, we don't know who really stands at the moment for, of course, their car performing or anything like that, but most definitely like we said, the 42 car was on a rise for Matt Kenseth. That's why I think the 42 car was on a rise in general, and I think that's why Matt Kenseth will be able to pick up a win.
Yeah, you make a good point with Greg Biffle because it's more similar to the situation we see now, because right now it's Matt Kenseth getting put into what I don't know if I'd call it a A-level car, because I don't know if it's I don't know if that 42 car is necessarily on par with, say, the Gibbs cars, or the Penske cars, but it's definitely a B-level car, and it's a step above what the Roush car was in 2018 that he drove. So that's a good point there, too. And you mentioned Greg Biffle getting put into a top-tier race car and being able to win. Greg Biffle hadn't raced anything NASCAR since his retirement in 2016. Whether or not he did local racing, I don't know. But, you make a very good point there with Greg Biffle. So, yeah, maybe Kenseth gets a win. Maybe he doesn't. But I don't know. I don't want to say he's past his prime, because I think there's always a chance for a driver to make a comeback and kind of show you differently. But I don't know about Matt Kenseth, I still think it's going to be a tough sell. But hey, Chip Ganassi obviously saw something in him because they gave him the race car. They wouldn't have done that if they didn't think there was something there.
Yeah, I would have to definitely agree with you on that, of course, because we talked about it before. There were several options for not only Roush Fenway, but for the 42 team. They had a drive to go with. They could have gone with maybe Jamie McMurray if Fox had let them pick him, or, of course, had gone with none other than Ross Chastain.
Well, I don't think Ross Chastain, as much as I would have liked to see Ross get that car, I don't think that would have worked, and only because of the fact he was in a full season contract with Colleague Racing. And you think about that contract, he had, his, I don't know the name of the sponsor, is it Nutra-G Agricultural Solutions, whatever his sponsor is. That's almost, I think, a full season sponsor on that car. So they probably would have had to buy him out of that contract, buy that sponsor out of that contract, and that's a lot of money to shell out for Ross Chastain. And rather than just wait for that contract to lapse at the end of this year and put him in the car in 2021, which I think is what's going to happen. Jamie McMurray, I'm surprised they didn't go with Jamie McMurray, to be honest with you. Because I really thought, okay, Jamie McMurray's been out of the car for a year. He made a good final start in 2019, right? I mean, he did good in his final Daytona 500. So I'm really surprised we didn't see Jamie McMurray actually get that car, if I'm being honest with you. I think everyone was, left field, Matt Kenseth. He's becoming the new Mark Martin. I mean that in a good way, because I think Mark Martin was a great driver in the twilight years of his career. And I think Matt Kenseth is a good driver. So, but he has definitely taken that torch of he'll run anything as soon as he's called to it. As we move back to the race in front of us, 5 laps to go. I tell you what, Michael Henry, he had to make a second pit stop, Jacob, but I don't think it hurt him because he held on to the race lead even through his pit stop. He's got this race wrapped up.
You say that and talk about a scary moment for him. Michael
Getting by
Henry was in
Blankenship.
the race lead. He got a little bit loose. And yeah, of course, him and Steve Blankenship almost got together. And Blankenship lost the race car and hit the wall, and it could have easily been Michael Henry. Now I can tell the way that he's been driving the race car, he is really abusing the rear tires, where he's just hitting the accelerator a little bit too much off the right after, of course, he gets the car settled.
Yeah, Henry's just, it's 5 more laps. Not a lot of racing left. You just got to hold on for 5 more laps. So he's got about, 10 more minutes left in that car, realistically speaking?
Just about that long. Yeah, about 10 more minutes, which will be, for him, it might be a lifetime. But you talk about it, that's just going to help him in the long run for this playoff race.
Yeah, well, I don't think Michael Henry's in the chase grid. We'll take a look back at that, but I don't think he's part of the chase.
Well, if that is the case, then my mistake there. But also, I guess I would say, well, it's just going to help you for next year or the next season. It's going to give you that momentum. And if you can finish this season out on a high, then, of course, you're going to be rocking for Daytona for the next season.
Yeah, Michael Henry not a part of this chase. Glenn Jameson, who's finishing second right now, or on track to finish second, he is a part of the chase. And I tell you what, he's leading the points. He stands to gain a lot from this finish. He will gain a lot out of this second place finish with just 5 more laps to go here. So with just 5 laps to go, do you see anything going wrong for Michael Henry? That is going to be the big question. I'm sure he's praying to whatever higher power he believes in to keep that car clean.
I mean, of course, hopefully not. But what I have seen from him tonight with racing at this racetrack, right there, that was a scary moment for him. He hit the side curbing on the, I believe, the run into the start-finish straight and hit the dirt there, got a little bit loose. So he's been doing that a lot throughout the night, but that is something that can easily go wrong. You dip a tire into maybe just a little bit more of that, I guess, almost tile, the rumble strips that are on the side of the rumble strips or something like that, and almost touch the grass. Could really have almost no control of trying to save that race car. So he just has to be very careful about that. That's one thing that I could see go wrong for him. Of course, hopefully that is not going to be the case.
Yeah, right now 4 laps to go, coming to 3 to go at the stripe. So not a lot of really not a lot of racing left. And like I said, everyone else just, you know, off in their own little area of racing, shall we say. Well, I tell you what, I was not predicting Michael Henry to win this race, and it is his debut race, so what a way to start off his running in this league, going to victory lane.
Yeah, of course. What a way to start it off indeed. Just really, I guess, knows how to race a road course. That's a big thing, too. It's just you race and win at a road course, then you're probably able to win at 1.5 miles. And I would even say, of course, at, well, a short track too, because that's all about saving your rear tires and saving your front tires, not overdriving the race car. And even if you do a little bit, you can still survive. So that's a huge way to maybe, of course, will start off your series debut.
Right now, 3 laps to go. So not, again, you know, barely any time left, but, you know, still plenty of time, though, for something to go wrong for Michael Henry. I think something, you know, he's probably just focused on hitting his marks. And the good thing, he's got almost a 1.5 minute lead, so he doesn't have to push that car, and I'm sure he's not But I think that's going to be the big thing here, is just not pushing the race car. Because imagine how tragic it would be if he just sends it off the corner, you know, and puts it up in the wall.
Most definitely, indeed. I mean, he is very close to the edge of the grass for sure on some of these corners. And one thing, of course, that people don't necessarily think about is if you use too much rumble strips, even on iRacing, it gets you uneven tire wear, and then it makes your tires very undrivable, especially if you use a little bit too much on the right front or right side, or even on the left side, because of course it's a road course. So that's something that you don't want to do. Is he got a big little wiggle there for Michael Henry, but able to still control it. So that's what he's been doing.
That's more than a little bit of a wiggle there, Jacob. I tell you what, he went full-on drift through that corner.
That's been his driving style, though, is been just really getting the tail happy.
I wonder if he does any dirt racing.
I would probably say he does, because he's been able to catch the car really well.
Because I tell you what, that looks a little bit like a dirt racing background to me, you know?
Oh, most definitely. You can really tell a dirt racing background when you see one. And yeah, the way that he's catching the car, that's for sure a dirt racing, whether it's short course or dirt oval on a sprint car or even a late model.
Well, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be, it's certainly helping him here, because you know what? I don't think any other driver would have been able to catch that slide. That was something else entirely. Coming to the white flag lap. Final lap of the race this time, and I tell you what, a lot of these drivers are probably happy to see that. They're probably very much done with this racetrack, you know? Oh, man, he's gone. I tell you what, I don't know if he's listening to the broadcast, Jacob, but he's dirt tracking it there.
Exactly. Maybe doing some rally cross. Maybe that's his background right there for sure, because he's using some pavement and also going a little bit off track. But I think he's just having fun now. He's got over a minute, close to a minute and a half lead. So, yeah, just having some fun. Probably his tires are a little bit gone. And now, of course, coming around the final corners, he's just going to celebrate in style.
He's got to do one more lap, though. He's got to keep that car clean for one more lap. I'd say save the showmanship for the checkered flag, but I don't think he's going to do that.
Too, so yeah, just I guess that aggressive behind the wheel here.
Yeah, I tell you what though, he's whatever he's done, it's worked for him, because he's gonna go to victory lane in a few moments, and it's worked out perfectly. Off through the final few corners now.
Out of corner, he goes for the final time. Will he decide to go off-roading again, or will he decide to keep it on the racetrack? Looks like he's going to keep it nice and tidy. Of course, brake as hard as he can. Runs just a little bit wide, but able to keep it just on the racetrack.
Yep. I tell you what, great run for him. He's put almost everyone a lap down. And here you go, victory lane. Michael Henry gets it done. I mean, you know, you can't say you're surprised there because he's just ran a fantastic race. 14 out of 27 laps led. Unfortunately, though, folks, we only have time to talk to our race winner, so we'll talk to Michael Henry. We'll let Jacob get that interview in. Take it away.
All right, Michael Henry, how you doing?
What's going on, guys?
Well, I mean, you put on a fantastic show here tonight, and you really had to work for this one. Indeed, talk us through it.
It wasn't nothing special. Just played the strategy right, stretched the fuel as long as I could, and just try to take care of time.
Of course, how's the car handling throughout this race? I know, of course, you had an early spin, if I'm not mistaken, but how is it able to just handle, and how are you able to continue on and push for the race win?
Well, it's all about saving the tires. I mean, if you can save the tires early in the run, you can keep the car under you the whole run. And that's the good thing about this league. They have half fuel, so you're not stretching the tires near as hard or near as far. And man, it's just trying to drive with your head. I was not doing that earlier in the race. I was driving way over my head, but I mean, I'll take it. I think they felt bad for me and just let me have it this way.
Yeah, of course. So, to get the race win, how's this momentum going to help you for next week and, of course, maybe even the next season?
Well, any momentum's good momentum. So we'll take this race, go to Texas next week, and hopefully pull off a win at a real racetrack.
All right, sounds great. And before we let you go, anybody that you'd like to thank, sponsors or anybody?
Well, definitely the WFO guys for letting me in this week. I know it's late in their season, but they were kind enough to let me come play. All my teammates over at Turn Left Motorsports, I mean, giving me the night off from doing Road to Pro setups to come play with this stuff, and my wife and my teething daughter crying in the background of this whole interview.
All right, well, congratulations and have fun celebrating.